Hey everybody, welcome back. I just wanted to do another tutorial. So last week I had uploaded this track to my YouTube channel and got some comments about how I did the sound design in it. So there's a few different elements that I'll go into over a couple of different videos. This video specifically, we're going to be talking about how to get Noire to sound like this. One of the comments had mentioned that their Noire sounds dull and unpleasant. I can see where that's coming from. Noire isn't my most playable library, but it is really cool. It's, for those who don't know, it's Nils Fromm's personal CFX. Typically in a Nils Frahm recording, you'll hear it almost like you're the pianist. And so you can hear all the little creaks and squeaks and pieces of wood rubbing together and mechanical components of the piano going off. And Noire lets you do a lot of that sort of stuff. It also has a lot darker sound than other CFX libraries like the VSL CFX or Garriton or the 300 grand. So let's dig into, let's just talk about how I made the patch. And we'll just start with the basic felt here. So on the first page, we'll keep release samples enabled. We'll enable overtones, which does, if you've seen my previous video on how to use Piano Tech to add resonance to sample libraries, this will get you part of the way there. It's not quite as good as Piano Tech, but it's pretty close. Things like repedaling don't work quite the same, and re-triggering resonance on a note doesn't work quite the same as it does on an acoustic piano, but it's close enough for this. We're also going to turn on all the noises, the pedal noise, the mechanical noise, and the felt noise. And I'll let you hear what those sound like. So here's the pedal noise. Let's crank it. Pretty much what you'd expect. The mechanical noises would be things like, you can hear the hammers kind of dropping back down. And then felt, and Noire comes with a felt version and an unfelted version. I'm using the felted version here. You can also turn on the felt mic, which will let you hear that felt. That felt transient. Tonal depth I had turned on, which gives you a little bit of extra resonance. The sub is interesting. I don't use that here. They put a subwoofer underneath the piano and recorded it. Used it as a microphone to record the bass by reverse wiring the speaker, which is kind of interesting. It adds some interesting bass to the sound. But I did not use that in this patch. I didn't do any repedaling or half pedaling. You can enable those here. And I just kept the velocity at linear. When you're playing, at least when I'm playing the standard Noire, the unfelted version, I have to jack the velocity up to harder or hardest to get it to respond like I would want it to respond. But usually if I'm looking for a clean CFX sound, I don't go to Noire. I will go to something like the VSL CFX is really nice. And I've heard really good things about the 300 grand as well. But I left those off. And then in the effects section, I didn't use an EQ, didn't use a compressor. I did turn on stereo image and I left it right here. And so this will kind of help give it that player's perspective type sound where you hear the bass notes more on the left-hand side and the upper registers more on the right-hand side of the stereo field. Another thing that I enabled was this pianist sounds here, which is kind of cool. So now if I do something like this, I'm going to crank up the volume a little bit. But if I'm depressing the pedal, you can hear like squeaking on the bench. All right, let me turn up my mic so you can hear these noises. So the pianist, I left this back at the default here, probably somewhere around there. The intensity was probably somewhere around here. There's also, Noire comes with this particles engine, which is really cool. It'll do things. It's an aleatoric sequencer, so you can kind of hear. I just play this one note, it'll fire off a bunch of other sounds. Anyway, let's skip the particles engine. There's lots of other videos on that. The last couple of things that I did was I enabled the reverb and set it to, because this track was kind of set in next to this lake in the forest, I used this Mystique algorithm called the Woods, which is an impulse response taken in the woods. And it sounds kind of like this. So it sounds pretty good. And then the delay, I turned on the delay, turned on stereo, turned on ping pong, so you can kind of hear it going back and forth. And at the beginning of the track, it was cranked up to about here. So it kind of bounced back and forth, and you could hear that. For the main part of the track, most of the song, it was down pretty subtle. Barely hear it. It might have been up a little bit more, maybe around here. But yeah, it was pretty subtle. And that's all I did for Noire. However, I also put a chain that I put after just about every ambient piano, whether it's Piano Tech or Keyscape or anything. I really like this chain. And that is Valhalla Shimmer. With the mix somewhere between 6% and 10%. This track, I had it at 9%. And that gives it this character here. Just a little bit of shimmer on top, not too much. And then Eventide Black Hole, which you can get it for about $30 on sale, or I'll see it on KnobCloud for around 50. But this thing just sounds really good. And so I just use the default, or not the default preset, I use the Black Hole preset with the default settings on that preset. And that's the final sound for that piano. So it sounds kind of like this. Anyway, sounds nice. It's a nice little ambient patch. Let's actually, you can do this with some free plugins too. So let's get rid of Black Hole, get rid of Valhalla Shimmer. We'll just load a shimmer, a stock shimmer. That is made using just native Bitwig tools. Sounds like this. Let's up the release time a little bit here. That sounds pretty good. And then we'll use the free Supermassive. Pick something like 80 space verb. See how this sounds. Pretty good. I'll drop the mix down closer to there. So anyway, there's a free kind of alternative to that. And you could use the free piano here too. You don't need Noire. Let's grab Spitfire Labs has a nice one called the Soft Piano. Sounds like this. So anyway, there's a totally free alternative right there. Hopefully that helps a little bit, and we'll see you guys in the next one.